Hallå, den var vibration på sig. Höjer frekvensen. Jag sover gott. Har varit ute och handlat lite småmat, lite snabbmat. Och lite frukost och så. Så och klockan är 10:09 kan man säga. Eller ja, kanske 12 minuter i 9. Och det ser ut att bli en fin dag. Det är kallt ute, 7 minus. Och senare ska jag och min väninna åka och handla lite. Så vi får se vad det blir för gott då. Så det är det som händer idag. Just nu kollar jag lite på lunch, eller frukostklubben. Med Daniel Elvenmark. Ja, det är repris. Jag har precis missat hans liveshow, men jag kollar nu istället i efterhand. Jag tror att han börjar klockan 8. Så det är klockan 08:54.
Ryssland testar den nya överljudsmissilen Oreshnik mot militärbas i Ukraina, och det här är från luftsport. Rysslands president Vladimir Putin har förklarat att Moskva förbehåller sig rätten att slå till mot militära anläggningar i länder som förser Ukraina med vapen för attacker mot rysk mark. Detta efter att ukrainska styrkor använt västlevererade långdistansrobotar mot mål i Ryssland. Under ett tv-sänt tal betonade Putin att Rysslands militära åtgärder var ett direkt svar på de senaste ukrainska missilattackerna i Kursk och Bryansk-regionerna, där amerikanska ATACMS och brittiska Storm Shadow-missiler användes. Dessa attacker beskrevs som att de tillförde element av global karaktär till konflikten, vilket tyder på att skifte från en regional till en mer internationell skala av engagemang. Ryssland demonstrerade sin militära kapacitet genom att genomföra vad som beskrevs som ett stridstest av ett nytt ballistiskt missilsystem med medellång räckvidd kallat Oreshnik. Missilen, som enligt uppgifter kan färdas i hypersonisk hastighet, träffade ett militärindustriellt komplex i Dnipro i Ukraina. Putin förklarade att detta var ett strategiskt drag för att testa det nya systemet under stridsförhållanden, för att visa att det var framgångsrikt och för att varna för framtida användning. Putin försäkrade att framtida anfall med Oreshnik skulle föregås av varningar för att möjliggöra evakuering av civila, vilket understryker ett humanitärt övervägande trots den militära avsikten. Denna policy mildrar dock inte den skarpa varningen till nationer som stöder Ukraina militärt, eftersom Putin gjort klart att Ryssland anser sig ha rätt att vedergälla mot alla länder vars vapen används mot ryska intressen. Det internationella samfundet, främst NATO-medlemmar, är i högsta beredskap efter denna utveckling. Representanter för västvärlden har varit snabba med att reagera där vissa ifrågasätter riktigheten i påståendena om Oreshniks kapacitet och andra uppmanar till nedtrappning. Ukrainas president Zelensky fördömde missilattacken som en allvarlig upptrappning och ett brott mot internationella normer. Han hävdade att Ukrainas användning av långdistansvapen är berättigad enligt internationell rätt för självförsvar och efterlyste ett kraftfullt svar från världssamfundet på den ryska aggressionen. Experterna är oeniga om konsekvenserna av Rysslands senaste utspel, medan vissa ser det som en direkt utmaning mot NATOs beslutsamhet. tolkar andra det som en strategisk uppvisning av militär styrka för att avskräcka västvärlden från ytterligare intervention. Utplaceringen av Oreshnik-systemet signalerar också Ryssland pågående investeringar i avancerade vapen. President Putins tal och de efterföljande åtgärderna understryker en potentiell förändring mot mer direkta konfrontationer med länder som stöder Ukraina. Användningen av Oreshnik-missilen understryker Rysslands tekniska framsteg och dess beredskap att använda sådana förmågor i sin militär doktrin. Ja, jag tänker då på den här lilla fjanten Paul Jonsson, alltså vår försvarsminister, som ska tuppa till sig och säga även om USA drar sig ur hela konflikten så ska Sverige fortsätta att slåss mot Ryssland. Vilken jävla galning. Jag väntar mig bara att om Sverige skickar JAS-plan till Ukraina så kan det komma en missil mot Saabs fabriker i Linköping och spränga hela skiten i luften. Det är en risk som Sverige tar. Jag ska säga god morgon till Björn Hammås i Costa Blanca. God morgon. Ja, ska vi se. Nu ska jag gå vidare med en blogg från Jenny Piper. Västvärldens 500-åriga globala hegemoni är över och framtiden kommer att tillhöra Eurasien. Rysslands president Putin brukar ofta påpeka att mänskligheten är på väg bort från hegemoni och istället går mot multipolaritet, samt att de gamla hegemoner som har vant sig vid att styra över världen som de gjort under kolonialtiden inte längre blir lyssnade på. När Ungerns premiärminister Viktor Orbán talade vid Eurasia Forum i Budapest idag var han inne på samma spår när han slog fast att västvärldens 500-åriga globala hegemoni är över och framtiden kommer att tillhöra Eurasien. Tanken att hela världen borde organiseras efter en västerländsk modell och att nationer kommer att vara villiga att ansluta sig till den i utbyte mot ekonomiska och finansiella fördelar har misslyckats. Västvärlden har utmanats från öster. Nästa period kommer att vara Eurasiens århundrade. 500 år av västvärldens civilisationsdominans har tagit slut. Asiatiska länder har blivit starkare och bevisat att de är kapabla att resa sig, existera och bestå som oberoende centra för ekonomisk och politisk makt. De har nu både demografiska och tekniska fördelar gentemot sina västerländska kamrater. Som ett resultat har centrum för världsekonomin flyttats till öst, där ekonomierna växer 4 gånger snabbare än de västerländska. Mervärdet av västerländsk industri står för 40% av världen och österländsk industri för 50%. Detta är den nya verkligheten. Medan Asien står för 70% av den globala befolkningen och har en andel på 70% av världsekonomin, har EU framstått som förlorare nummer 1 i den föränderliga verkligheten. Västvärlden har också kvävts i sin egen miljö och ställts inför utmaningar som migration, genusideologi, etniska konflikter samt Ryssland-Ukraina-krisen. Det är förståeligt svårt för västerländska ledare att ge upp känslan av överlägsenhet som de är vana vid. Att vi är de smartaste, de vackraste, de mest utvecklade och de rikaste. De västerländska eliterna har utsett sig själva till beskyddare av att upprätthålla den gamla härligheten av status quo, vilket så småningom kommer att leda till en ekonomisk och politisk blockad. Intressant att ta del av, och det går inte att hymla med att västvärlden i århundraden har plundrat, mördat, regerat med våld och genom propaganda samt olika bedrägerier. De är inte villiga att ge upp sin diktatur nu. Istället försöker de klamra sig fast med alla medel, inklusive kärnvapenkrig, som det visar sig de senaste dagarna. Beklämmande att man kan räkna de europeiska ledarna som besitter sunt förnuft på sina 5 fingrar. Så ska jag komma då till den sista läsningen. Och det är från Harriet Larssons utanför åsiktskorridoren. Insikt finns hos demokrater i USA om förlorat val, men i Sverige är den ännu skral. Även om oppositionen ännu leder över Tidöregeringen så borde de ta intryck av USA, vars politiska höger trend redan har nått Tyskland, Italien och Frankrike. Att skriva ett nytt partiprogram räcker inte när insikt hos Socialdemokraterna saknas om varför deras politik leder fel. Där stram invandring, precis som hos regeringen, är status quo och sidans korrupta bidragskarusell ska snurra fortare, som regeringen under stort motstånd försöker dämpa farten på. Det är egentligen ingen trend utan folkets protest mot politisk korrekthet som har slukat ideologin både hos demokrater i USA och Europas vänsterliberala partier. En korrekthet som den globala finanseliten har som medel för att förstöra nationalstaten med hjälp av överstatliga organisationer.
Hello, my YouTube friends. If you want to add your phone screen or camera to your OBS live stream, it's super easy and free to actually do it. Today I'm going to show you how. Don't worry, it's really easy. So you know what? Let's get to it.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out, righteousness. So Denzel Washington has been under scrutiny by a whole lot of Hamite people, straight men in particular, because he's in this movie Gladiator or Pink Panther or Black Panther or something, I don't know what it is. And he there's a part in there where he kissed another man, tongue kissing. And so a lot of people thought that Denzel was straight and was hoping that he would align with them because they believe this whole thing about homosexuality. It is absolutely the worst thing that could happen to humanity. But you got a lot of people pushing it, you know. And especially a lot of these liberal Jesuit people, they and these women, these lesbian women, it is sickening. And by the way, unfortunately, you know, don't think it's just because somebody's conservative or right-wing or evangelical that they don't have as many homosexuals in their roots as the liberal. If they listen, if people in the right-wing, conservative, evangelical crowd have sex organs, the doggone you got just as many homosexuals in that crowd as you do Democrats, black people, liberals, and left-wingers. The problem, the difference is that the Democrats, left-wingers, the pensioners, Negro, they're always bragging about it and pushing it down your throat. They're always talking about how wonderful it is, how, you know, to be homosexual would be a sick self. But, so don't think that somehow or another that the conservatives or the evangelicals are saints. You got another thing coming. Anyway, so Denzel Washington, Mr. Malcolm X, Mr. Who was that?
Nej då, kvällningar.
Elijah, somebody on that movie. And a whole bunch of other people he played as well. Is now in the news for having kissed a man on a movie set. I'm gonna let you hear it and see what you think. Hey, roll that clip, Mr. There.
With his performance in the all-new Gladiator 2 hitting theaters across the country this Friday, Denzel Washington has been making headlines.
Jag verkligen ogillar dem eller gillar dem.
Det är inte min
kopp av te kan man säga.
News of Washington being involved in a homosexual kiss, as we will report, didn't sit well with many of his longtime fans. Now as news continues to circulate on what we will call Kissgate, many of Washington's fans will share their displeasure with hearing that Washington, who has represented as a strong black male lead for years on film, would decide to even go through with a suggestively gay act. Well, last night, while on the red carpet at the premiere of his new film, alongside his wife, Pauletta Washington, Washington would go on to address the backlash and responses. When asked by Variety about the alleged kiss, he would go on to respond.
Okay, gotta talk about the kiss. It's much ado about nothing. It really is much ado about nothing. They're making more of it than it was. I kissed him on his hands, I gave him a peck, and I killed him.
Now, just as viewers may find a little relief in hearing that Denzel only kissed him.
Jag kan lyssna på det där.
All right, folks, welcome to Nino'sCorner.tv. I have an outstanding, amazing guest today in David Icke, man, a guy I highly respect. One of the true pioneers of this movement. I gotta say, one of the grandfathers of the OGs of this movement, of the red pill / black pill movement. I love David Icke, man. I've watched all your stuff from the very beginning. I've read your books. I'm a true fan, and I'm very honored to have you on the show. My platform is a free speech platform. I like to hear all perspectives and viewpoints. So when I saw your post, basically calling out Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, it piqued my interest because I know you see things a little bit differently than most people, and you don't take the bait. I'm a Trump supporter. Everybody knows I'm a Trump supporter, but there are some people around him that I'm very leery about. But before we get into this, folks, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Don't eat breakfast until you learn about the caloric bypass, folks. Your breakfast is setting up for the entire day either to gain weight or lose it. The term breakfast literally means to break your fast that you started the night before. About 4 hours after you dinner, your body switches from the nutrients we get from food to the stored glycogen we have in our bodies. Once glycogen stores are depleted, typically after 8 to 12 hours of fasting, the body shifts to burning fat for energy. Fatty acids are released from fat stores, where they are converted into ketone bodies through the process called ketogenesis. Then when you eat breakfast in the morning, your body starts that cycle all over again. This is where the caloric bypass comes into play. Dr. Gundry, a heart surgeon in California, learned that if you break your nightly fast with something called MCTs, which I take, folks, or medium chain triglycerides, you can actually keep burning fat throughout the day and use it for energy. But there are specific types of foods that contain these MCTs. Using the breakfast breakthrough, he was able to lose 70 pounds. 70 pounds just through diet, and he did this in his 60s. You can find out all about it in his exact method by going to thehealthyfat.com/Nino. That's thehealthyfat.com/Nino. Click on the link below in the description box and get started today, folks. I do it. I do a lot of fasting, actually. Do you ever do fasting, David?
Yeah, well, I do partly fasting. Yeah, I do. I don't eat till 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock.
That's good. Yeah, that's what I do basically. Sometimes I'll stretch it till like 2 or 3, but anyway. So let's talk about this, Dave.
I don't want to go that far, but I'm not too good. But it just makes you feel better.
Absolutely. So, okay, that's Joe's. But I'm going to show a post right now from you that was. That's how it's supposed to get. Let me get it real quick. My bad, Dave. You posted about basically, I like to call them the Avengers. You know, the Trump's Avengers. You know, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Russell Brand, Brett Weinstein, Jimmy Dore, Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Luke Rukowski, on it goes. The fake and hijacked alternative media. So you're calling out what you're calling the fake and hijacked alternative media have Pied Piper you into the layer of the global cult under the guise of Trump. I did warn you, but mega abuse was my reward. Maybe now people who bought the latest, most obvious and blatant lies see that politics is the problem, the diversion. So that must mean the answer is U.S. then. When will the penny drop? So can you explain this to my follower, to my audience and your audience? Elon Musk, I have some reservations on him. I feel like he's the poster boy. I've heard he was DARPA funded. Joe Rogan, it seemed like he just got on the Trump train at the last second. Now, I'm going to make a disclaimer here, David, before I let you take the floor, but I'm a Trump backer. I back Trump. I could not stand Kamala Harris. I thought she was going to lead us into a dystopian future with Biden and the globalist elite. But you're going to say otherwise, right? You're saying old system down, new system, new bosses, new management. Is that where you're going with this?
No, what I'm saying is, I can't stand Kamala Harris either. When I started 35 years ago on this, there was no alternative media. It didn't exist. There was just a few disparate individuals talking to next to no one. Very few people wanted to know. And then I started to see, as the kind of 1990s moved towards the 2000s, I started to see the alternative media emerge, and no one was more delighted than me. It was a case of more the merrier. The more people that are putting this information out, the better. And there was an understanding in that period, because it's been very different since, that we live in one-party states where, as they used to say in America, as I was traveling around America, again, talking to no one, in the mid-1990s, it doesn't matter who you vote for because the government still gets in. And there was this streetwise understanding that to get to the source of power, you have to take a step back in the shadows. And when you do, you find that point which is expressing and imposing its agenda via both parties. It uses different rhetoric for different parties because they're targeting different belief systems and mentalities. But in the end, it's the same goal. And I started saying in early 2020 that so big there wasn't actually any COVID, and that the idea was to convince us there was, so that we would take that was very clearly coming down the line. I was banned from everywhere, basically.
Oh,
and
yeah,
and
everybody.
I couldn't I couldn't get a platform anywhere. I'm currently, by the way, banned from nearly 30 European countries and Australia, and a lot more if I try to get in. And people might ask why that is, when other people in the alternative media can go into any country they like, and they're still on YouTube, etc.
Wait, you're banned from traveling there, or just banned from their platform?
No, I'm banned from traveling there. I can't go to nearly 30 European countries.
Wow. You're a threat.
Well,
to the agenda.
What is it I'm saying that other people aren't saying? That means that I'm banned from nearly 30 countries, plus Australia, and they're not. But the point is that there's a group of countries in Europe, which is much of the European Union, called the Schengen Group, and they're a border group of countries. They have a same border policy. And if you're banned from one, you're banned from all. So I'm banned from the Netherlands, so I'm banned from all. That's how it works. And they've banned me with a law. First of all, they misused the law to do this in 2022. But in March 2023, the Schengen Group dropped that law. There is no law anymore, even the one they abused, to justify what they've done. And a judge, in my challenge to this, has agreed there is no law that applies to me that means I must be banned from all these countries. But she says, well, it can happen anyway. Recently, the Dutch government has just announced that I'm banned for another 2 years because I've not changed my views. I've not changed my opinion, so I continue to be banned, and it will be indefinite.
So they're punishing you for not changing your views, not changing your mind.
No, well, changing my mind, changing my views. In other words, saying things they don't want other people to hear. And so I'm now banned again for another 2 years from all those countries with a law that does not exist. And what I find kind of interesting is what I call the mainstream of the alternative media, the MAM, that has set itself up as being all about free speech and against censorship, has been virtually silent on the first ban and absolutely on the second ban. And you know.
So who do you consider the mainstream alternative media, like the Tucker Carlson's, Joe Rogan's?
Yeah, that kind of stuff, yeah, but, and others. But I'll come to what I mean by that as I go along here, because there was a massive change, and a lot of people came out of the mainstream media and the mainstream arena, and they came into the alternative, and they basically took it over, and they've taken it over in terms of being the focus of attention through algorithmic support and promotion and
would you say it was like infiltration?
Financial support and whatever.
Well, but would you say that was like an infiltration?
Well, yes, it was an infiltration, but let me put that in perspective as well. You know, if you want to put a certain limited view of what's happening into the public arena, because you don't want the awakening that start to go too far, so you get into those areas that would really threaten you, then you don't necessarily need to put people in there that absolutely know what they're doing. There are some, I'm sure, but all you have to do is get people who have a certain view of what's happening, what I would say is a very limited view of what's happening, and you promote the hell out of them. And what you do is you focus attention on what they're saying. Now, my problem is not with them having an opinion. It is with the takeover of the perspective of the mainstream of the alternative media. Outside of that mainstream, that barricade of here and no further, as I would call it, are fantastic people in the alternative media who do want to push on and understand more and more about what's happening, instead of getting caught in the left-right puppet show. Because as I said earlier, what was great about much anyway of the alternative media, in the area, not totally, the puppet show still went on in some areas, but a lot of people understood that we live in one-party states, and it doesn't matter who you vote for because the government still gets in. Yeah, the secret government operating from the shadows. But what's happened is the mainstream of the alternative media has regressed into the left-right puppet show. Left bad, right good. And what it's done is present the idea that politics through one guy is the answer to what's going on. And we've forgotten the golden rule that we live in a one-party state. And if this, what I call float, has the power that it does, and it does because of the way it's infiltrated and created the institutions of power over a very long period of time. In many ways, they've not hijacked the system, they've created it. Like the Rockefellers created the World Health Organization, for example. And the Rockefellers, to a very large extent, are responsible for the emergence of Big Pharma. They've created these institutions. And therefore, if we start saying, well, if you vote for this guy, it's going to change everything. Well, that's not what I see in his picks for government so far, for instance, all of which seem to be enormously Israel-centric. Now, if you focus attention and get people to think that politics is the answer.
Well, I think.
Hold on. What happens is that people give their power away. They give their collective power away. I hear that something like 75 million people voted for Trump this time. Okay, so what happens is they give their power to Trump now, to pick his government and to whatever he will do in the next 4 years. But what if those 75 million people cease to cooperate with their own enslavement, cease to cooperate with the diktats of government? What if those 75 million people had refused to follow the diktats era? The COVID era wouldn't have happened. And let's not forget that this that I predicted was coming in the early part of 2020. To this day, in fact, opposed this very day by Donald Trump on his behalf, and still claiming credit for destroyed the health of so many people. So, but what happens is I'm seeing this cognitive dissonance. See, if you are an alternative journalist, and I mean a proper one, then you don't take political sides, because you know it's a puppet show, and you know that politicians lie to you. They lie to you to get elected, and then they do what they plan to do wrong. So what you don't do is pick a side and promote it.
I think a lot of conspiracies were floating in the back channels with QAnon, Trump's gonna clean house, he's gonna do massive arrests. That's what a lot of people were hoping for. We're gonna go back to a republic. I mean, this really did take hold, and it grew, right, like a forest fire. And I've even had guests on saying that Trump is a military operation, this and that. We know in real time, and when we were watching a Trump 24 election, we stopped it in Pennsylvania in some places. But are you saying this is all a dog and pony show, that they're going to get their guy in? Trump is their pick. He's just the right wing of the same bird.
Oh, absolutely. And the alternative media that I remember do that and worked on that basis.
But don't you think they infiltrated the alternative? I mean, people got crazy.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
Right.
I didn't.
I'm just pulling questions at my audience.
I'll tell you why I didn't. Because I've been doing this for 35 years. I go back a long way. I'm old. And I've seen hard played many times under different names. Trust the plan. Oh, what's going to happen is all the bad guys are going to get arrested. And sometimes they're going to get arrested on this date. And I'm thinking, well, they're all going to get arrested on this date. Yeah, they're going to go to their homes and arrest them. Well, why don't you bloody turn them then? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the whole shebang is ridiculous. Let me just explain what I think is happening, and you can come back at me. There is a beyond everything. beyond all the other agendas that are part of the same block of agendas, there is one that is prime above all, and that is to fuse humans with artificial intelligence, so that artificial intelligence becomes the human mind. Now, this is not me sitting in a darkened room pulling this out the ether. This is what they're saying. If you look at Ray Kurzweil at Google, this so-called Google futurist executive, for years now, he's been saying that by 2030, which is a massive target year for so many things for this code, humans will be fused with artificial intelligence. That process will have begun. It's actually already begun.
Well, Elon's leading the charge, correct?
Yeah, yes, I'll come to that in a second because it's relevant to the point I'm making here. And Kurzweil says that once that connection to artificial intelligence is made, artificial intelligence will do more and more of human thinking until human thinking is basically negligible. He means deleted. And what he says is that the human brain will be connected to the cloud. And the cloud is a technologically generated electromagnetic field, which is designed ultimately to hit every inch of the planet. So the reason that I knew that when Elon Musk was allowed, and he was allowed to buy Twitter, I knew it was a scam. Because I've been tracking this guy for many, many, many years, because he ticks every box of the agenda.
So he's like the poster boy.
Well, he is the poster boy, and he's being sold as this free speech absolutist.
Wasn't he funded by DARPA? I've heard this over and over and over, and then they're just using him like he's the genius kid that has all this money to play with, and he's just blowing up rockets from his backyard. Like he's portrayed as that, like the Ferris Bueller, like the good-looking kid, or like the good-looking genius that plays with rockets. He's gonna save the world. That's how he's coming off.
Yes, and that's the propaganda. That's what they want to make him, and that's what they have made him in the minds of so many people. It's unbelievable. All the things that people learned over the years of how the system works, they've just bloody forgotten. And now, oh, Elon. And so
everybody's in love with Elon. My question is, how does he find the time to do everything he's doing? There has to be a machine behind him to do this. See, not one man can do all this.
Are you kidding? He says that 80% of his time is done in designing and engineering. You know, I mean, what do you mean when you're not on Twitter X, like?
Or he's not at the UFC fights.
Oh yeah. Well, this is the point, and that's another thing where there's lots of connections into that as well. But if you look at Tesla, okay, he has been the main sales pitcher of electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles, and that is straight off the page of the Islamic Forum agenda. Autonomous vehicles. Why? Because at the moment, with a petrol diesel vehicle, you can get in it and you can drive it where pretty much, with exception of where you want. But when the vehicles are autonomous, the computer will decide where you go, and lots of vast areas will be locked off by the computer, and you won't go there. That vehicle won't take you there. That's what it's really about. Nothing to do with the environment, of course. And I'm seeing a story today. We'll see if it turns out to be true. That the Trump regime plans to remove regulations regarding autonomous vehicles, which will, of course, suit Elon Musk perfectly. He's doing the Neuralink connection to the human brain, but that's more of a it's more of a sales pitch. It's selling the concept of connecting artificial intelligence computers to the human brain, because he was asked a question once. You say that Neuralink wants to take a piece of skull out and put these probes in. Yeah. And the question was, quite rightly, well, how many people are going to want a piece of their skull taken away?
Right.
Oh, he says, you might not have to do that. You could go in through the veins, right? And that's what they've done, finding all these self-replicating systems in them. Not only them either. The whole idea of the cloud that Kurzweil talks about is to have an electromagnetic field artificially created through which information frequencies will be sent to the human brain via the AI connection. And they're basically seeking to create a hive mind, a global hive mind that can be centrally controlled. Now, if you want that, then you've got to have some receiver system in the body to receive those frequencies, that information. They contain, I mean, there's an organization which I'm frequently in touch with.
Are you able to see the screen as well, David?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, what?
Yeah, so he says it nearly hopes to make human brain talk with computers. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And I just want to say one thing. There's a verse in the Bible that says, you know, I have a big Christian audience, so I'm just going to just implement this. I'm going to put this in there that, you know, he doeth great wonders so that maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. It also talks, it continues in Revelation 13:17, so that no one can buy or sell except for one who had the stamped image of the beast's name or the number that it stood for. I mean, this all kind of goes with what this guy's doing. Now, I know you have your own perspective on the Bible and Bible prophecy, but my audience does believe in that, and I think that it's fair to say that this guy checks all the boxes to me. I mean, he checks all the boxes. It makes, you know, I mean, great wonders in the sky. I mean, it's pretty prophetic what we're watching here, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, the thing is that you have this self-replicating stuff in the so you have this self-replicating system in the body, and it's designed to pick up these frequencies, and it contains, like I was saying, something called graphene oxide, which is has been found originally, but there's many more found it now, by an organization in Spain, a research organization called La Quinta Columna. And I've been in touch with them quite regularly over the last year or so. And graphene oxide is a superconductor of electricity. And of course, the brain processes information electrically. It communicates with the rest of the body electrically and vice versa. And graphene oxide does something else. It amplifies electromagnetic fields. So if you're in touch with an electromagnetic field, it will be far more impactful on the body if you've got graphene oxide in it than otherwise. Which brings me to SpaceX. I don't know whether you know the official story of SpaceX, the official story anyway that's been told by the people involved. But he was, Elon Musk, he was flying to Russia with a CIA operative called Michael Griffin. And, I mean, go figure, apparently it was to do a deal for intercontinental ballistic missiles. And on the plane back, Musk, it's said by Griffin, announced that he was going to start SpaceX, and Griffin was offered a job. But Griffin didn't take the job. Instead, he took another one as head of IQT, which is operation that seed funds and supports companies and startups that are creating technology, that benevolence technology, data processing technology, etc. One of the startups that InQtel seed funded was one called Palantir, which is co-founded by Peter Thiel, who has funded the political career of J.D. Vance, and is a business associate of both J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy. And so Griffin takes the job with the CIA, but then he gets offered another one as head of NASA. And it's when Griffin went to NASA that SpaceX and Elon Musk started getting these massive contracts from NASA, because SpaceX is basically an arm's length organization connected to, or run in effect by NASA and the Pentagon.
So it's basically the same thing.
That's the same.
The same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so.
But they needed a poster boy.
Precisely. And how does this relate to what I'm saying here about the AI human fusion? You've got this cloud, which Kurzweil talks about, and everybody talks about now, this cloud, this electromagnetic, technologically generated cloud. Now, you can project that, generate that through 5G towers, 6G, 7G to come.
Which I think was responsible, in my mind.
Well, the thing is that during COVID, they said only essential work is allowed. And part of that essential work was putting 5G towers up all over the place while people were locked down.
They were doing the rollout.
Yeah, they were. But the point is that you can create this cloud through those towers in urban areas and towns and cities, okay. But you're not going to hit every inch of the planet from towers. To do that, you have to do it from space. And what's happened is that SpaceX has become the massively leading company putting up low orbit satellites to beam this cloud at the Earth under the guise of Starlink. And
I bought Starlink.
not only Starlink for members of the public, but they have a Pentagon government version of it, which SpaceX and Musk are doing as well, which is just for government and the military. And so when I hear that Musk is a threat to the system, then I look at his companies that exist overwhelmingly because of subsidies and contracts from the system, then something doesn't add up. There's thousands of these low orbit satellites now, SpaceX. There are others as well, but SpaceX is massively the leader. And they have permission already for tens of thousands. Now, where does that permission come from?
Tjena Fritiof. Kommer du ihåg på 90-talet de här Killinggänget? De gjorde ett program som hette Pörs och tårar. Jag vet inte om du sett det. Men de pratade om, då gjorde de humor om något som hette X9-raket. Kommer du ihåg det? Kan det vara så att de hade någon insikt i vad som kommer hända i framtiden? Visserligen var det humor då, men det var liksom som framställt liksom som humor, och då liksom de kanske gjorde det för att varna eller för att framtyda vad som skulle hända senare. Nu är det ju SpaceX på gång.
is just a diversion, but I'm just calling out what needs calling out. Now, this is an interesting point that you raise, because when Musk was allowed to buy Twitter, immediately, for reasons of previous research over years, I thought this is a scam. So what's the scam? And what it's done is allow him to become the free speech hero.
Right.
And what's happened, and I've watched this, is that part of the alternative media that was calling him out before, that he's all these tick the boxes of the World Economic Forum and he's pushing us towards transhumanism, it's all gone.
We can't do anything. We can't do anything because he's allowing free speech on his platform.
Yes.
Well, he's won us over.
Yeah, and this is the point. Well, we've allowed ourselves, many people have allowed themselves to be won over because they've stopped critical thinking and fallen for cognitive dissonance. But when I say allowed to buy it, it's kind of interesting. He brought out these Twitter files when he first bought Twitter. Well, I say he bought Twitter. There's lots of other people that are investors in Twitter, including the Saudis and the Qatar government, who of course have a wonderful passion for freedom of speech. And so I looked at it, and they brought out these Twitter files, and they said, look, this shows that Twitter before was stopping people and was only allowing people to say this or say that and banning everyone else. Yeah, okay. So what you're saying is then controlled Twitter, and Twitter became what the state wanted it to be. You're saying that, right?
But they're just reinventing themselves, is what you're saying here.
So
it's just a facelift.
My point is this: control Twitter and had it where it wanted. Why did they sell it to Musk? Why did they sell it to Musk? And the thing too is there's a scam going on, which is worth mentioning, and that is that what Musk does is he picks fights with specific governments here and there. Like he picked a fight with the Brazilian government and then backed down completely. Picked a fight with the Australian government and so on. And this is used to promote him as the great free speech hero. He's standing for free speech, good old Elon. Well, here's the figures. Before Musk bought Twitter, Twitter was taking down 50% of the demands by authorities to take down content. Since he bought Twitter, the figure is 80% being taken. He picked an argument with the Australian government when this preacher was stabbed on video, and the Australian government said, we want it taken down. Okay, so he took it down in Australia immediately. And then they said, no, we want it taken down globally. And he picked a fight. He said, no, I'm not taking it down globally, blah, blah, blah. Well, as the Australian government pointed out, not that I'm a fan of them, they've banned it from their country. They said that when they'd asked Musk Twitter before to take something down globally, then he had. But this is a fight that he thought he could win. And the European Union, in the 6 months to March 2024, Twitter X under Musk took down 40,000 pieces of content globally on the say-so of the European Union. So this is the way it works. You pick fights and you have very high profile, I'm standing for free speech, basically psyops. And in the background, quietly, don't say a word, you're taking down all this content. Of course, shadow banning on
so it's a dog and pony show.
It's massive. It's a dog and pony show, the whole
But
thing.
can I just interject real quick? I'm sure you can see the screen, and I'm gonna go ahead and just say this. The dragon or Satan gives his authority to two beasts, who are able to perform great signs and wonders, conquer believers, control commerce, and rule over everyone on earth. This sounds like the direction we're going. Now, I like to bring Bible prophecy into this, just so that my audience can relate to this, so I can relate to this. But look what we're looking at here. The dragon. He names his rockets the dragon. I just don't kind of get to be more obvious than that.
Yeah, and also, what has Trump handed to him? It's
The
control of government regulation, basically, and control of the institutions and how they work. That's what has been handed to him, and of course it suits him absolutely perfectly. If you start removing regulation on autonomous vehicles, you get control of the Federal Communications Commission, and you start getting the decisions that you want, then you can advance your agenda very, very quickly. Now, I've mentioned Peter Thiel. He's a Trump supporter, and he's part of the so-called PayPal mafia, of which Musk is a member, and other members of the PayPal mafia, like David Sachs and others, have moved in to support Trump. These Silicon Valley billionaires, they know they're going to get what they want. And one thing to mention about Peter Thiel, he's the political funder of J.D. Vance's political career, which meant that when they were throwing names around in the summer of possible running mates for Trump, as soon as J.D. Vance came up, I said, he's the guy. They're going to have him. Because Peter Thiel controls it. Now, J.D. Vance presents himself as an anti-globalist, and Trump is an anti-globalist, and Musk an anti-globalist. Well, interestingly, Peter Thiel, who is connected to all these people very closely, and through
sensitivitetsträning. Det gäller helt enkelt att inte börja gråta. I gymmet kan ingen höra er gråta. Och där får ni bara en chans. Vi ska jämföra övningen med hjälp av ett litet diabildband. Och tycker vi börjar med en gång, eller hur? Vad tycker ni? Starta. Nu går jag bajsa. Så ses vi i aulan.
Nej, där får du inte sitta.
Thiel's so-called founders fund of investments, he funds SpaceX and other Musk companies, etc. Peter Thiel is on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group, which is globalist to its DNA, created in used to be Holland, in 1954, and ever since has been pushing this globalist agenda. Alex Carr, who is another co-founder with Thiel of Palantir, this company that was seed-funded by the CIA and provides technology, data processing technology, surveillance technology for the Pentagon, the intelligence network, abroad as well as at home. Alex Carr is on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group. Another guy, Eric Schmidt, who was, of course, head of Google at one time, he is on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group, and he supported Harris. And other people supported Harris that are connected into Peter Thiel, because they're funding both sides and controlling.
And I understand that, David, but do you think there's any chance that maybe Trump, he almost took a bullet to the skull? I mean, do you think by any chance this guy is unwittingly a part of this? Maybe not. Maybe some of these characters are wittingly a part of this. But do you think maybe Trump is unwittingly? Maybe he just, he really does feel he can change the country. He's trying to do a good thing. Or do you think they've all been brought into a back room and this is like the WWE? And they're like, here's your script.
Yes, here's your script. If you look at Trump's background, he has been owned by the forces that own Israel for most of his life. And in around 1990, he was going bankrupt to the tune of money that was just blow your mind. There's a video which you can see on the internet from that time where he is admitting that he personally at that time owed $1 billion, never mind his companies. And what happened is a guy called Wilbur Ross, who 24 years he worked for the Rothschilds in bankruptcy, he was brought in to put together a group of 72 banks to bail out Musk, to bail out Trump. So he is absolutely beholden to that network. Wilbur Ross was named as Commerce Secretary in Trump's first administration up to 2016. And so he's beholden to them. He has his business empire because
Hej, hallå! Fredag, vi närmar oss jul. Någon månad kvar här bara. Och jag hoppas att du känner dig att du får vila i helgen. För det är så mycket som händer just nu. Och du har väl fått den här broschyren när krisen eller kriget kommer från viktig information till Sveriges invånare. Ja, man krigshetsar ju på bra. Men jag tycker att den här broschyren skulle vara bättre att ha, det vill säga börja för fan tänka själv. Vilka är de ledare som orsakar det här? Ja, nu när jag varit på kyrkomötet så har det verkligen varit kvitto på. Det var så skönt att åka hem därifrån, för jag känner i hela kroppen hur det bara kändes som 1000 ton sten föll från axlarna. Det är så polariserat och så styrt, och det är så Tyskland. Jag vill bara påminna om, nu har Tornado självförsvarsspray har rabatt fram till 12 december, och jag tycker det här är ju årets julklapp. Se till att trygga varandra, det är väl liksom bra, och passa på nu när det är rabatt. Tända lampan rakt i nyllet och bara trycka av och kunna ta sig därifrån och oskadliggöra presumtiva våldsverkare. Så se till att tänka efter ett varv till nu när det är rabatt. passa på att inhandla och slå in den och ge bort den. För det är en bra present, julklapp. Länkar nedanför till Tornado lägger jag som vanligt. Ja, det här med att man vill förbjuda, det har ju varit tydligt. Och nu när jag liksom var så tydligt i kyrkan att man verkligen ville höja procentspärren för att bli av med Alternativ för Sverige. Det här är utrett. De pratar om att skapa mer demokrati genom att utestänga mindre partier och därmed också människor här ute som inte då får vara med och rösta. Och man vill tvinga in alla i sossesvängen, och högmod går ju alltid före fall. Och det högmod som jag mötte där är helt faktaresistent. Man kör sitt manus i debatterna, man vägrar att ta in. Och samma människor då som säger att jag vill att vi ska ha ett samtal, vägrar att lyssna. Alltså jag vet inte hur många gånger jag hörde framförallt Reiderud rapa upp sina floskler. Det var samma manus, ja, men det här har jag hört 3 gånger i rad nu. Och det är hela tiden, det är bara det som kan. Man ska mota bort sanningen och verkligheten. Man vägrar ta in erfarenhet, kunskap, alltså allt det här. Man bara slår ifrån sig och så kastar en kort förstås. Det här är typiskt. Okay. Och samma sak har vi nu i Tyskland. Där vill man inför nyvalet förbjuda Alternativ för Deutschland. Alltså Alternativ för Deutschland som är uppe i 30% och är jättehot mot de här globalisterna nu och sossarna framförallt. Hör ni stäbbeltrampen? Nu är man liksom tillbaka i det här. Nazism är ju ursprungsnamnet, är ju nationalsocialism. Sossar. Så att det trampas på vilt där. Och mitt i det här, alltså man försvarar ju grejer som man har orsakat. Och sossarna är ju mästare på att förneka problemet och sen försvara då till exempel gängkriminella får jobba i skolor. Vi har det tufft i skolor, det är rena kriget i skolor.
Ja, jävla skit alltså. Svara för fan. Ja. God förmiddag. Hur står det till? Ja. Jo tack, bra. Ja. Ja. Ska se om min utsikt då. Den är ännu med julaktiga med röda stugorna här, röda stan. Det ser verkligen ut som en liten tomteby. Ja. Jo. Ja, vad händer idag då? Ja. Ja. Just det, vad är det för något? Ja, nej. Mm. Ja. Ja, ja. Trevligt. Jag har ju bara ta båten dit då. Ja. Nej. Det är kallt där nu. Blåsigt och... Usch. Ja. Jaha, ja. Ja. Jo. Så kan det vara.